Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
I'm with Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister for Civil Aviation, Housing and Development, and the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry. Mr. Puri, welcome to The Print.
Thank you.
My first question to you is, today is a big day. You've announced the sale of Air India. Now, does that mean that Air India has crash-landed, or is it going to soar into a new sky?
Air India is a first-rate asset. It is cruising at 36,000 feet, and it is going to soar into a new high. It will find a new owner. It will continue to be called Air India. The brand will remain, but it has to be privatized. And yes, we are right. You are right. It is a big day. We have today formally initiated the process with the PIM and expression of interest having been issued this morning.
So this is the first asset sale of the Narendra Modi government, and this is a huge one. So can you give us some details about this?
Well, I've already, all the details of the, on the parameters, they're all on the website. All I can tell you is that we are very serious about it. We are committed that Air India should continue to be flying, continue to fly. We are also committed to the fact that it has to be privatized. Air India has more than 120 aircraft. It flies to several destinations abroad. Here, it has very talented engineers and pilots. But governments should not be in the business of running airlines. And Air India, in spite of being a first-rate asset, has accumulated debt, which has become unsustainable. So a private entity can mobilize the resources, acquire Air India, and introduce the required efficiencies to make it a profitable entity. We, on our part, have learned the lessons from the previous attempt in 2018. It is 100% of Air India that is being disinvested. And we will also, in the process which has been initiated today, we will invite suggestions in case the basic terms and conditions need to be tweaked a little. We are open to that. There's a 45-day period, but we are determined to go ahead with it.
So you talked about the 2018 example, which didn't work at all. In fact, you didn't have any bidders. How are you so sure that this will be different?
Because both the concept and design is very different. It's first of all, 100% of Air India is being disinvested. Then the amount of debt which is being retired, etc. All those details are available. And I'm basing the potential interest or an assessment of that based on the contacts that we have made during the road shows. 8 of those were held.
And people were interested.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They not only were interested, they also gave us ideas on how to go about it. This is both established airlines in different parts of the world. There are also private funds who want to set up a consortium. So this is work in progress.
So 2 questions. One is on the employees. You have several thousand employees. What happens? Do they go with a new airline, or do you retire them? What do you do?
No, the first thing to note is that the airline, Air India, does not have a surplus of employees. In fact, there hasn't been recruitment in Air India for many years. And we have a situation in which whoever acquires that entity will require the pilots, the engineers, the cabin crew to maintain and operate the airline. So that goes without saying.
That goes without saying that they will go to the new airline.
Well, to begin with. But, we are not in a position to prescribe conditions for the new entity which will acquire the airline. What we can ensure is a lock-in period, whereafter both the employees and the new employer will be free to either renegotiate their terms and conditions or make alternate arrangements.
So how many years would this lock-in period be, for example?
Well, look, it's not for us to prescribe. To begin with, the person buying the airline, the entity buying the airline would want to run it for some time. Sure. So that some time then may want to give a voluntary retirement scheme. But all this is something that we have been in discussion with the employees on. I have personally had 2 extended meetings with the employees union. And look, I don't want to put an interpretation of what they thought of the meeting, but I'm going by what they've said on social media. And we've gone a step further now. If there are any residual issues, like there are some issues, as you know, they don't get pensions. So there are issues like medical. What would happen to the retired people medically? And I have told them that government is committed to providing some kind of medical cover. What shape and form it takes is still being worked out. Whether we go down the CGHS route, which for central government employees, or we go through some other route, or the Ayushman Bharat route, for instance. I don't know. I mean, these are things to be worked out. But more important, there are other issues, like, for instance, the arrears which have to be paid. We have told them this is part of the balance sheet. Arrears will be paid. And as I said, with the efficiencies that a privatized airline can introduce, hopefully, the employer and the employees as they are now will find a new arrangement. But after a basic lock-in period, so nobody is disadvantaged.
So my other question was about the debt that you will take on. You said at a press conference just now that there will be a special purpose vehicle, and the debt that this vehicle absorbs will be about 40,000 crores. Now, in the 2018 example, it was about 33,000. So there isn't that much difference.
No, it's not. It's not. It's the manner in which you go about it. And that's it. What has happened this time is that, look, I think a potential buyer, I mean, I have no... There was a professional consultant who did a study last time to find out as to what went wrong. Many explanations came.
So give me some.
No, well, like, for instance, the timing was wrong. Number
Why
one.
was the timing wrong?
It was on the just before a general election, right? I don't think, in order to take a decision which is as bold as this, which is as courageous as this, to privatize, disinvest, divest an entity like Air India, you require political will, which was there, but civil servants are always cautious, so they were not willing to go down 100%. They wanted to retain, a quarter of the... things like that. I don't want to speculate on that. The thing is that we've decided this time that we've got to go ahead. There will be people opposing it. There will be people. A question to that effect was asked. And I'm very clear in my mind that we will go through with it.
So this debt that exists, about 33 to 40,000 crores, will the government absorb it, or will it be passed on to the new airline?
Look, that was answered in the press conference. And I think no. It's a concern. We will make it absolutely viable for the potential investor, and we look at our own interests also. There will be a way has been found whereby a certain amount of debt is retired, goes into a special purpose vehicle, and so far it is pared down to the net asset value of the assets, about 23,000 crores. All that we are doing, as I said. This is a process which has begun. We are open to suggestions, to tweaking it as we go along. But the important thing is that we are aware of several serious interested parties. How many of these interested parties become bidders or we get more is entirely possible.
So these interested parties are both inside India and abroad?
Absolutely.
So this 23,000 odd crore debt is equivalent to the assets that the airline has today. And this includes not just aircraft, but also land or buildings that...
All those things, several things are included in the bid, some are not included. All those, please have a look at the website. All the details are there.
So, Mr. Puri, this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first big asset sale. Now, do you think this will contribute to improving the sentiment, especially abroad, with foreign investors who believe that the Indian economy is running aground?
First of all, I don't agree with the assessment that the Indian economy is running aground. Many of the people who make that kind of statement come from economies which are growing at 0.6% or 1% or 2%, 0.1. Point two, look, you've had 11 years of expansionary growth. If you get a period of course correction, either due to the fact that this may be structural, cyclical, or due to a global environment which is not entirely conducive, whatever the factors are, look, the signs of a recovery are there. I mean, I deal with two ministries, civil aviation and housing and urban affairs. Oh, absolutely. Let me take you civil aviation sector. Even after a major air carrier like Jet Airways ceased operations between December of 2018 and April of 2019, if you look at the figures of November 2019, compare them to November of 2018, there's an 11% growth. And, on a 7 or 8% penetration, we are going 11, 12%. Look, I expect the civil aviation sector to be a critical driver of growth. Number of airports being privatized, number of aircraft being acquired, number of people wanting to travel by aircraft, including from remote areas where we are operating the UDAN scheme. It's a mind-boggling figure. We are
India doesn't have an airline. How does the government keep control?
many airlines. I think you must get rid of this idea. One of the airlines that India has just ordered 300 planes. Another airline, which is an airline, has just ordered 10 wide-bodied aircraft. So that's not correct. I think much of the narrative on civil aviation is also like the narrative in our political system. Many people don't have the full facts. First, on the economy, let me get down. Both in terms of housing and urban affairs, the construction industry. Most of these sectors like agriculture, construction, textiles are in the informal sector. What we lack is a mechanism, the tools to measure the growth there. Well, let me assure you, things are looking up, and Air India's privatization stands on its own. Yes, it will be a big boost because privatization is very central to economic performance and reform, etc. But I'm positive that we'll get through with it.
So after demonetization, obviously the Air India privatization has been a big one. But Mr. Puri, my last couple of questions on Delhi. My last couple of questions on Delhi. You are the Minister for Housing and Urban Development, and Delhi land or DDA falls under your remit. So what is it that you're doing in the Delhi election, and how are you going to make the BJP look better than it is today?
The BJP is looking very well. There are two of the projects from my ministry, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and especially that vertical on in-situ slum rehabilitation, Jahan Juggi Wahin Makan, which is going to be a central election issue here. We are giving homes to 10 lakh people who reside in these JJ clusters. And we have also given...
They don't have homes already?
No, they don't. They live in Juggi. So we're saying Wahan Juggi Wahin Makan. Pakka Ghar. And also 40 lakh to 50 lakh people living in unauthorized colonies have been given Malkana Haq. I think about 200,000 have already registered on that. I gave the first 20 their papers, and we are doing it in such a way as to make it easy for them. We are charging them 0.5% of the circle rate for conveyance deed, etc. So it's a truly revolutionary step. Out of a population of 2 crores, 10 lakh people living in JJ colonies, Jahan Juggi Wahin Makan, 40 lakh people living in unauthorized colonies, that's 50 lakhs minimum, it could be 60 lakh. And another 80 lakh people will benefit from what is called land pooling. So out of 2 crores population, 1 crore 30 lakhs are benefiting from these schemes.
So you think this will help the BJP come to power? It's been a drought for the BJP in Delhi.
Come on. Delhi has won, BJP has won every election in Delhi for God knows when. Only election that Kejriwal has won is the 2015 election. He's lost everything after that. Look, you're dealing with a particular Nautanki brand of politics where he makes virtue out of the dirty water, where substandard schools are touted as world class, and where he doesn't apply the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where he doesn't apply the Ayushman Bharat, which is a health cover which benefits poorer families, economically weaker sections, up to 5 lakhs a year. So welcome to Mr. Kejriwal. Now we will deal with it.
But Mr. Amit Shah is the only one who's doing roadshows. Nobody else is doing roadshows, including the Prime Minister or yourself.
That's not correct. We will have 15,000 meetings by the time the election is over. Apart from Mr. Amit Shah, the senior leadership, Nadda ji, all the other senior leadership. By the way, I do 6 or 7 in a day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Puri. This is Jyoti Malhotra for The Print. Please continue to watch our YouTube channel. It's live and buzzing.